This is our annual. Let's talk about how the Bills got eliminated from the playoffs, Steve. But there's interesting element added to this with Sean McDermott. How surprised were you that he got fired?
Very, very surprised. Yeah, of course, I'm one of those guys that played a long time in the league and appeared in a Super Bowl, never won a Super Bowl, so you can take this with a grain of salt because I don't know what it is to win a championship, but having a swing at it every year is pretty important, I think. The Bills were right there, and most of the losses they've suffered during Sean's tenure were almost so unique. You almost had a name for them. It took a really incredible and let's say this in the Denver game this last week, and the Bills team didn't play well. Josh didn't play well. The defense didn't play well. They just didn't play their best, and almost still found a way to win that game. Yeah, it's tough because particularly I'm in the building every day, and when you change, it's a little like Dan. It's a little bit like the Dan Patrick show, losing Dan Patrick. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are affected by it, and you can't take that for granted. It's going to be a big change and a huge transition for the organization. You don't know what's going to happen the next few weeks, so we'll see. But you can't understate or overstate. I'm sorry, you can't overstate what he has meant to the franchise, what he did for him, the culture he established, what he's meant to the community, the example he's been to his players. I know his players revere him. Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely enormous transition process.
Was he in the building this morning?
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't know. This is all, we have heard nothing official from the team yet.
Okay.
This has all been reported from outlets that we know to be to be trustworthy. So, and it's all over the radio, obviously here in Buffalo as well.
But you're in the building, but you haven't officially been told that Sean McDermott's been fired.
No,
Wow.
no. I would imagine, though, given the sources that we've heard from, and the somber nature of the building, that it's probably true.
Why did the Bills lose to Denver?
Turned it over. That's always been the bugaboo with this team. Josh obviously had a couple of bad turnovers. One, the sack strip fumble right after halftime was probably not his fault. The fumble before halftime that gave Denver 3 points, yeah, absolutely was Josh's fault. The long interception down the middle, that's an arm punt. You can kind of live with that, but you can't overstate the fact James Cook going in. They were moving the football at will against Denver early on. It looked like he was going to get a runaway, and if the Bills don't turn it over the whole game, it probably is a runaway win. But they did 5 times. That's too many, and they paid the price for it.
But I wonder if because everybody made a big deal of no Lamar, no Mahomes, no Burrow, it's wide open, you guys should be going to the Super Bowl, that raised the stakes here for Sean McDermott. Certainly with Josh Allen, but Sean McDermott's the one who paid the ultimate price here.
Yeah, maybe. I still don't think you get to this point of the playoffs and don't meet good football teams. Patriots played an outstanding game against a really good Houston Texans team. Certainly, you can tell C.J. Stroud doesn't belong in the same conversation as Josh Allen, in my opinion. Drake May has got a solid coaching staff and a great roster around him and has played extremely well, very efficient all year. Stafford. Same thing. So yeah, that you can make a case that the deck was cleared from the quarterback's position, but you still got to beat the entire team, and it's still not going to be easy for New England to go into Denver and beat Jarrett Stidham. Although in hindsight, I mean, man, oh man, you shake your head at the twists and turns of the season, and this last one certainly has got to be enticing for Patriot fans going in there with Drake May, the MVP candidate, going against Jarrett Stidham, a New England draft pick back in the day.
And I know this is still fresh, this wound, but could you see a scenario where the Bills brought back Brian Dable as a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, he's a Buffalo guy, grew up here, I know he's well thought of in the building. I'm sure they're going to scour the landscape for the right guy, and I think even if it takes a little bit of extra time. One of the things that the Bills learned during the drought, um, it's not just about picking the right guy, it's about getting them to say yes as well. Um, I think it's more important to get the right guy than to get the guy in the next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Even if it takes 3 or 4 weeks or a month, if it's the right guy, you'll be fine, even in the first year. Um, so yeah, Brian Daboll would be on the list. I think um, there's a number of guys that are on the list. They may not even go offensive guy. They may go leadership. They may go like a Mike Tomlin or Brian Flores or something like that as well. There's some quality guys out there, really quality guys. Uh, but there's only 32 jobs, and you've got one of them, and you got to make sure that the guy you get is going to fit not just the spot where you're at now, because there's a lot of guys that'll fit with Josh Allen as their quarterback. You got to have a guy who's got a plan going forward.
Help me understand ownership there. They don't strike me as, we're going to make a quick decision on firing Sean McDermott. I don't know if they're reactionary in that way. He'd been there 9 years, but do you think this was in the works? Do you think he was actually coaching for his job yesterday?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a little bit of exasperation, and I think they probably got some, there is a little bit, even though each of these laws that I mentioned, it's hard to beat this team. I mean, they're a tough out. Even during the regular season, they have to help you almost to get a tough out. But even that whole strength of through the 9 years that Sean was here, that became a little bit of the characteristic of the team. So maybe to get out of that, of having these massively unusual and weird and close last minute weird official call, missed call, whatever you want to call them, that's the trait that they're trying to change. And the head coach is probably their answer to, is Terry Pagula's answer to it, Brandon Beane's answer to it. They do have, all the losses have had a quirky characteristic that is always there. They're trying to find a way to get around that, I think.
Tough day for you, I know. Appreciate you joining us, Steve.
Yeah, I'll say this. Sean was an incredible ambassador for Buffalo. I feel for he and his wife, Jamie, and all the guys on the staff, because all these coaches go into limbo. It's a little more personal for me maybe than it's ever been, because Sean's been here for almost a decade. He's an outstanding human being. He'll be a little bit along the lines of the Mike Tomlin firing earlier this year. If he wants to work, people will hire him. But I'll say this, it's hard. It's hard to say goodbye to a place like this. It's hard for people in this building to say goodbye to Sean and his family. They've been a big part of our lives, and everybody in this building owes their job to him, right? So it's a deeply personal thing, and I know that while we talk about it at an arm's length level, it's a rough day here in Buffalo, no question about it.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Tasker, former Buffalo Bills All-Pro and part of the broadcast team. Yeah, you could hear it in his voice. It's one of those where you're in the building, but you're not in the know. You haven't been told that the head coach has been fired, that the insiders are the ones that have that information, but the people in the building. A couple of phone calls here. And I wonder, is Josh Allen involved with the next coach that's hired? We saw this with the Ravens, with their owner talking about Lamar Jackson. Hey, you want to be involved in this, then you better fly up here when we're doing these interviews here. Is that something that, and Josh Allen has certainly earned that right, of who are you bringing in? Are you bringing in an offensive-minded person? Or is it going to be? I don't see Mike Tomlin there. Brian Flores feels like he's going to get a job, defensive coordinator. But do you bring back Brian Daboll? You're going into a new stadium. So there's a lot of things that go into this.